All right, guys. So about 15 years ago, Spectrasonics came out with Omnisphere, and it was a super cool plugin, but it's been released recently again in version 3.0, and I wanted to share with you guys a way, if you don't have 500 bucks, of how you can hack your own gear to kind of come up with something that gives you a result that's a little bit similar. Now, why are we doing it in the ghetto way this way? Is because this is what we do. We can kind of come up with ways that we can use our own gear without always having to rely on gas and the latest, coolest thing. And also because sometimes people like us, we forget that we have ways of doing things that could be like a fun kind of stimulus for us in the studio as well. Let me make an example. The MIDI through is one of the functionalities that basically no one uses. But if you connect your keyboard to one module and then that module to another module, what you can get are like multi-timbral sounds, basically because you have multiple sound sources playing at the same time. So basically the setup is like this. The keyboard right now is not playing anything, but the keyboard itself has its sounds, right? So the Oberheim is coming through 9 and 10, and it sounds like that. Now I have it also passing through a reverb, and that sounds like that. With the reverb and the Oberheim, that's one sound. Now, that sound, okay, is getting doubled by the Supernova, which is being basically played, and it's making that kind of phase sound. You hear that, right? And so now the Supernova is being added in. And then same thing with the Cobalt, if I add that in as well. And that's adding this kind of like glissando sound. Okay, so finally the full thing would be, I'll make it a single note so you can hear it a little bit more clearly. And that's kind of the idea of how to make a complex sound using multiple modules. With all that coming together, you can create some very cool sounds. And this is a way that you can also kind of open up some of the ways that you use your own studio. I think you probably have a polysynth or two lying around if you're watching me. So if you can sync them together and basically have it set up that you play one, but you get multiple sounds coming out, you can get something very similar to an Omnisphere kind of sound. Also, a lot of this bi-timbral, binaural stuff that's happening is kind of playing off of that too. So if you think about the Udo instruments, that's kind of that too. But basically, this is a hack where you guys at home or at the studio, play around with it, and by simply, going through the presets, but having multiple presets playing differently at different times, you can come up with a lot of new sounds. And that's kind of why Omnisphere's library is so big too, because a lot of times it's like a mix of sounds. A simple way of doing this would be, you can preset 1, preset 2, preset 3, just randomly like that. And suddenly you have another whole complex sound. Maybe something like this even. Let's get a little bit more Cobalt in here. You can put a different sound on the TO as well to get then another, root sound. And that's kind of how you go about doing it. Also, you can add the effects as well, right? But again, guys, this video is kind of an alternative to Omnisphere. So basically, instead of having to, 60 gigabytes of sounds on your computer, it's cool to have all those sounds, but are you ever going to listen to I think it's actually 20,000 presets they have on there. I don't know. Point is that you can make up your own cool things. It might not have the, let's say, organic sound. In this case specifically, I have a more metallic FM instrument in my setup. So it's not going to give me those kind of maybe softer tones, but at the same time, if you had, in your chain of instruments, maybe a synth that had that sound, then you could get to that, or a sampler, put a sampler in there. You could have one of your sounds be a sample. So any of these are techniques that you can use to kind of spark new ideas in the studio, but basically this is how to ghetto hack your own Omnisphere and do something that you can probably get a lot of fun out of if you mess around with it. Anyway, I hope that's helpful. If you guys like that kind of stuff, hit the subscribe and like or whatever. But anyway, in the meantime, peace. See you soon. Take care.